There is exactly one investment on this planet that guarantees a 100% return the second you buy it. It is not a penny stock, it is not a government bond, and it is definitely not crypto. In fact, if anyone on the internet pitched you an investment with these returns, you would probably report them to the SEC for running a Ponzi scheme. But this particular scheme is completely legal. It is federally regulated, and odds are you are already signed up for it, but you are using it wrong. I am talking about the employer 401k match. Most people view the match as a nice little bonus or a cherry on top of their salary. That is a mathematical error. The match is the only free money you will ever see in your adult life, and ignoring it is the financial equivalent of lighting a cigar with a $100 bill. Today I want to reframe how you look at your paycheck. We are going to break down why the match beats the S&P 500, how to calculate exactly how much you are leaving on the table, and the specific order you need to invest your money to capture this return. I have run the numbers on this, and the results are honestly kind of shocking even to me. Before we get into the math, do me a favor. If you like money that you do not have to work for, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It is the best return on investment for your time that you will get today. Now, let's look at what is actually happening inside that boring HR portal. There is a common misconception that an employer match is a gift. We tend to think of our compensation as our salary, and anything else, like health insurance, free coffee in the break room, or the 401k match, as just a perk. It feels like a bonus. If you get it, great. If you don't, well, at least you got your paycheck. This mindset is dangerous because it allows us to be lazy. When we view the match as a perk, we feel okay about skipping it when money gets tight. We tell ourselves we will sign up next year, or we will increase our contribution after the next promotion. But strictly speaking, that match is not a perk. It is deferred compensation. It is a pile of cash that your employer has already budgeted to pay you, sitting in a corporate account with your name on it, locked behind a single condition. Let's look at the mechanics. When you contribute a portion of your salary to your 401k, your employer contributes their own money according to a set formula. The most common setup I see, and this is backed by Vanguard data, is a 50% match on the first 6% of your salary. Other companies, like Fidelity Notes, might do a dollar-for-dollar match on the first 3%. These sound like small percentages. 3% here, 6% there. It sounds like rounding errors. But let's apply that to a salary of $60,000. If you have a dollar-for-dollar match on 3%, your employer is holding $1,800 for you. If you don't contribute, they keep that money. You don't get it later. It doesn't roll over. It just vanishes. You are effectively working for less money than your offer letter stated. Here is the twist. If your boss called you into their office and said, "Hey, we are going to cut your salary by 3% this year, just for fun," you would quit. You would be furious. You would flip a table. But when you fail to contribute enough to get the full match, you are voluntarily walking into that office and asking for that pay cut. We don't feel the pain of losing the match because it never hits our checking account. Human brains are wired to fear losing what we already have, but we are terrible at valuing what we could have. Because that money never touches your direct deposit, you don't feel the loss. But mathematically, the net worth impact is exactly the same as burning part of your paycheck. The solution here is a mindset shift. You need to stop looking at the match as investing. Investing implies risk. It implies you might lose money. Capturing the match is not investing. It is salary collection. Your first priority, before you budget for groceries or rent or Netflix, is to secure your full salary. You need to find your HR handbook or log into your benefits portal today. Look for the specific phrase, matching contribution formula. It will say something like 50% up to 6% or 100% up to 3%. Write that number down. That percentage is your new minimum. Anything less than that, and you are working for a discount. Now, you might be thinking, Tom, I get it. It's free money. But I can make better returns trading crypto or picking my own stocks. Listen to me very carefully. You are wrong. You are mathematically, statistically, and objectively wrong. Even if you are the greatest trader of all time, you cannot beat the return I am about to show you. The stock market averages about 10% a year over the long run. The 401k match crushes that so hard it's embarrassing. Let's look at the ROI numbers, because this is where the magic happens. When we talk about return on investment, or ROI, we usually talk about annual returns. If you buy a stock and it goes up 10% in a year, you are a genius. High-yield savings accounts are paying around 4 or 5% right now, and people are thrilled. That is the baseline. We are conditioned to fight for every single percentage point. We pay high fees to fund managers who promise to beat the market by 1%. We stress over whether to choose an ETF or a mutual fund to squeeze out an extra 0.5%. All of that energy is wasted if you are ignoring the match, because the returns we are talking about with an employer match are not 10%. They are not 20%. They are triple digits. Let's use a simple example. Say you earn $50,000 a year. Your employer offers a dollar-for-dollar match on the first 3%. You decide to contribute that 3%, which is $1,500. The moment, and I mean the exact second, that $1,500 hits your 401k account, your employer drops in another $1,500. You put in $1,500. You now have $3,000. That is a 100% return on your money. Instant. Zero risk. Even if the stock market crashes the next day and drops 10%, you are still up 90% on your money. There is no other asset class on earth that offers this. To get a 100% return in the stock market, you usually have to wait 7 to 10 years. With the match, you get it on payday. Here is where people get confused. They look at the match and say, well, a 50% match isn't 100%, so maybe it's not worth it. Let's run those numbers. If you put in $1 and your boss puts in 50 cents, that is a 50% immediate return. Do you know how hard it is to get a 50% return in the real world? Hedge fund managers become billionaires for generating 15% returns consistently. You are getting 50% guaranteed just for filling out a form. Even in the worst matching scenario, you are beating the best investors in history before your money is even invested in a fund. You are winning on day zero. The protocol here is to verify your specific return rate. Most plans fall into two buckets. Bucket A is the dollar-for-dollar match. This is the holy grail. Bucket B is the partial match, usually 50 cents on the dollar. I want you to calculate the effective return on that specific slice of your income. If you contribute 6% to get a 3% match, your effective return on that capital is 50%. Write that number down on a sticky note and put it on your monitor. 50% guaranteed. Whenever you feel tempted to stop contributing so you can buy something else, look at that note. Ask yourself if the thing you are buying is going to appreciate by 50% the second you buy it. If not, put the money in the match. So we have established that the returns are insane. But usually, high returns mean high risk. If someone offers you 100% returns, usually there is a chance you lose everything. That is the rule of finance. But the 401k match breaks that rule. It is the only place where high return meets zero variance. But there is a catch. There is always a catch. It's called vesting, and if you don't understand it, you actually could lose that free money after you've already earned it. Let's explain how to keep the company from clawing back your cash. Companies are smart. They know that giving you free money is expensive, so they use the match as a retention tool. This is where vesting comes in. Vesting is just a fancy HR term for ownership. When you put your own money into a 401k, that money is always 100% yours. It vests immediately. If you quit 5 minutes later, you take your contributions with you. But the employer match? That money often sits in a kind of limbo. It is in your account, you can see it, it grows with the market, but you don't technically own it yet. You have to earn the right to keep it by staying employed for a certain amount of time. There are two main types of schedules you need to watch out for. The first is cliff vesting. This means you get 0% of the match until you hit a specific anniversary, usually 3 years. If you leave at 2 years and 364 days, you lose every penny of the match. The second type is graded vesting. This is better. Maybe you get 20% of the match after year 1, 40% after year 2, and so on. Understanding this math is critical for your career decisions. I have seen people quit a job to take a $5,000 raise, not realizing they were walking away from $20,000 of unvested 401k match that would have been theirs if they stayed 3 more months. That is a very expensive resignation letter. Now, here is the psychological trap. Some people see the vesting schedule and say, well, I might not stay at this job for 5 years, so I shouldn't bother contributing. That is the wrong way to look at it. Even if you leave early and lose the match, you still kept your own contributions in a tax-advantaged account. You didn't lose anything, you just failed to gain the bonus. But more importantly, life happens. You might plan to leave in a year and end up staying for 5. If you didn't contribute because you thought you were leaving, you can't go back in time and get that match. You should always assume you will vest. Play the game as if you are going to win the prize. Don't pre-reject yourself from the free money. Your action step here is simple. Check your plan document for the vesting schedule. If you are fully vested immediately, congratulations, you can ignore this section. If you are on a cliff or graded schedule, you need to factor that into your career moves. If you are thinking about quitting, check your vesting date. If staying an extra 2 weeks secures you an extra $4,000 in vested matching, stick it out. Treat that vesting date like a bonus payout date. You wouldn't quit the day before your annual bonus hits, so don't quit the day before your match vests. We have talked about the immediate 100% return. That is great for short-term dopamine. But the real reason wealthy people are obsessed with the match isn't the immediate cash. It is what happens to that cash over 30 years. I'm going to show you a calculation that compares 2 people, one who gets the match and one who misses it. The difference in their final account balance isn't just the match amount. It is hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is the difference between retiring at 60 and greeting people at Walmart at 70. Let's assume you are 25 or 30 years old. When you put $1 into your 401k, that dollar goes out into the world and starts working for you. It buys stocks, it earns dividends, it grows. That is the magic of compound interest. But when you get an employer match, you are effectively cloning your army of dollars. Instead of sending $1 out to work, you are sending 2. And those $2 both earn compound interest. Over long periods of time, this creates a separation that is almost impossible to close with salary increases alone. You cannot out-earn a bad savings rate, but a match can help you outsave a mediocre salary. Let's use a Schwab example. Imagine a salary of $72,000. You contribute 6%, which is about $4,300 a year. Your employer adds 50% of that, which is another $2,100. If you do this for 30 years at a 7% return, your contributions alone would grow to about $438,000. That is decent, but with the match, that balance jumps to $657,000. That is a difference of $219,000. Think about that. The match was only putting in $2,000 a year. but over time, it created a $250,000 variance in your net worth. That is the power of compounding on top of free money. The problem is that $2,100 a year doesn't feel life-changing today. It breaks down to like $40 a week. You look at your paycheck and think, I'd rather have the $40 for takeout. We discount the future value. But you have to realise that the $40 today is worth 10 times that amount in retirement. When you skip the match, you aren't just giving up the cash value today. You are killing the future compound growth of that cash. You are destroying the seed corn. The psychology here requires you to be greedy. Be greedy for your future self. Why would you let your employer keep the seed corn that is supposed to grow your retirement farm? The protocol is to automate this so you never have to think about the compounding again. Most 401k plans allow you to set your contribution as a percentage of your income. Set it to the match limit immediately. If you get a raise, the dollar amount of your contribution goes up automatically, and so does the match. This prevents lifestyle creep from eating your future wealth. If your plan has an auto-escalate feature, turn it on. This will increase your savings rate by 1% a year. But at a bare minimum, the day you start a job, the first form you fill out should secure that match. Future you will thank you for the extra $250,000. Okay, so the match is king. Does that mean you should put every spare penny into your 401k? Actually, no. Once you capture the match, the 401k often becomes a mediocre account. High fees, limited options, strict withdrawal rules. There is a very specific order of operations for your money. If you go out of order, you are paying unnecessary taxes and fees. Let's outline exactly where your next dollar goes after you hit the match cap. We call this the financial waterfall. Step 0. The absolute top of the waterfall is the match. We have established this. Before you pay off low-interest debt, before you invest in a Roth IRA, before you buy crypto, you get the match. The return is infinite, or 100%, or 50%. Whatever it is, it beats your mortgage interest rate. If you have credit card debt at 25% interest, that is an emergency. But mathematically, a 100% match still beats paying off 25% debt. However, for peace of mind, most people split it. But never, ever stop the match completely to pay debt unless you are on the verge of bankruptcy. Step 1 is where it shifts. Once you have contributed exactly enough to get the full match, say 6%, stop. Do not put more into the 401k yet. Why? Because 401k plans often have administrative fees and limited investment choices. You might be stuck with expensive mutual funds. Instead, take your next dollar and put it into a health savings account, HSA, if you are eligible, or a Roth IRA. A Roth IRA gives you more control. You can pick any stock or ETF you want, and the growth is tax-free forever. The 401k match is free money, but the 401k account itself is usually just okay. Get the free money, then take your business elsewhere until you max out those other accounts. Step 2. If you have maxed out your Roth IRA and your HSA, and you still have money left over to save, then you go back to the 401k. At this point, the tax advantages of the 401k are your best bet, even without the match. The goal is to eventually save 15 to 20% of your gross income. But remember the order. Match first, then Roth/HSA, then back to 401k. This hierarchy ensures you are capturing the highest returns, the match, and the best tax benefits, the Roth, in the most efficient order possible. It is not just about saving, it is about saving in the right buckets. Personal finance can get complicated, but this part is simple. The 401k match is the closest thing to a sidewalk full of $20 bills that you will ever find. You do not need to be a market expert. You do not need to watch CNBC. You just need to sign the paper. If you take nothing else from this channel, take this. Check your contribution rate today. If you are under the match limit, fix it. Before you chase the next hot stock, before you try to time the market, make sure you aren't walking past the highest return investment on earth. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.